You can learn from your fellow white friends how to celebrate your people. And white people can learn from black people how to take careers more seriously and how to work in society better. Nobody wants to hear the year as a token or the year as a quota. Like, I don't think any black person walks around saying, I'll be your quota, hire me as your token, I'm fine with that. Feel the pain of the previous generation, understand that pain, but what are you doing so that your kids don't have to feel that? People came to my dad's birthday, they saw me with my wife. My dad's first word was like, she's black, that's a problem for any of you, please leave. You are not welcome in my house, this is a problem for you. And everybody just got on the program. So one thing I had to be faced with and I had to learn is understanding my privilege. Not just privilege as a white person. Yes, in some rooms I always get picked before we talk, but also understanding the privilege of my voice. I almost didn't marry Mommy, or not even dated her. Because in my mind I was like, what would my community say? As a white person, never speak on a black person's behalf. You are not black. But learn to work and fight for them with them.
Bones.
How's it?
I'm good, Friday.
I'm good, thanks.
Thank you for joining me today and for chatting with me today. I am looking forward to our conversation today. And before we jump into it, I just want to give an opportunity to introduce yourself to those who are listening and joining in. Who is Bones?
Okay, so my name is Logan now, or better known as Bones. I am a lighting engineer and a technical director, so I work in the entertainment industry and in churches and just help people bring their vision to life, help people get where they want things to go. I'm doing it for about 14 years now, and yeah, I'm married to Nwangwane now, and Moni, and yeah, I don't know really what else to say about it, but that's me.
No, Brad, that's perfect. And with today's conversation that I just wanna unpack with you further, I'm really interested in how it's gonna unfold. So I just wanna chat. I guess the title is coloring outside the box, and what does that mean? I just want to talk about things race.
Okay.
And I think it's going to be interesting, and I'm looking forward to it. Right here sitting as an Afrikaner and a Zulu.
Yeah, for a lot of people that's going to be very weird.
No, definitely. And
especially like a day after day of reconciliation / day of goodwill / whatever else people call it.
Right. And so I think we'll start off here. It's safe to assume we grew up from probably very different or polar opposite backgrounds. And growing in the landscape and this context of South Africa. You're from Pretoria. I'm from KZN. I think, and I'll also share on my side, but I want to maybe start by you first. What was it like growing up in South Africa? And on your side, you're a bit older, so you would have grew up just in that era where apartheid is just ending and going into post-apartheid. From my side, it was post-apartheid. How was that for you growing up? What was your experience? How was it at home? And then also just in your community and your surroundings.
Yeah. So I was 1 year old when apartheid ended. So I don't really have any, this is how apartheid was. Because I was one, I don't really know. Grew up in a household with a very open-minded household. Like both my mom and dad were very open-minded about a lot of things. And a lot of times culturally against the norm of a lot of Afrikaans people. So I grew up in a household, we'll talk about my family as well, but let's now focus on the household. So I grew up in a household where it was okay to have black friends. It was okay to speak to black people. It was okay to acknowledge black people. It was never a thing of, yeah, but they are black. Why are you talking to them? They're not your friends. They are the enemy. They are the new South Africa. Like, I didn't have that in my house. Like, my mom from young told me, judge people by their character. Don't judge them by their skin color. A lot of people will. Don't you be one of those people. And my dad grew up in a household with his parents where the cleaner wasn't just a cleaner. They built her and her kids a house. Her one kid was white people things in apartheid. The one kid passed away. My grandfather paid for the funeral. He buried the kid. He got land for the kid to be buried. So from my dad's perspective, there was never a divide between black and white people from his household. My mom's household, a little different. My grandfather on my mom's side, very racist. Even when I got married to a black girl, it was, the comments from his side wasn't great.
Yeah.
And I never understood it. I never understood the hatred towards a different race. I never understood the hatred towards people. Like for me, I don't think there's a people group I can go like, yo, these people. Guys, I can't deal with Zulus, or yo, guys, I can't deal with Asian people, or yo, guys, I can't deal with English people. There was never that for me. It was always like, what's this person's character? There are white people I get along with, there are white people I don't get along with. There are black people I get along with, there are black people I don't. Most of the time it's character for me. So it's difficult. I think my whole life when it comes to this race chat and drawing outside of the lines, my whole life has been that. My first best friend was a Zulu kid that just moved to Pretoria because his mom got a job. No one in the school wanted to be friends with him. And I was like, but no, I don't want to be treated like that. Why am I going to treat him like that? We became very good friends. We're friends up until about grade 9 because then we moved to Turkey. Tried to stay in touch, but back then cell phones were not what cell phones are now. There wasn't I'm just going to WhatsApp you. Like, dude, I'll see you when I see you. That's what it pretty much was. So that friendship kind of died out, but not for lack of trying. It was, times were just different. So I would say from my background in Pretoria, I've seen a lot of racism. I've encountered a lot of racism. I've been asked to be a part of a lot of racism, but it was just never in my DNA. It was just never something I could go sign. It was never something I could be like, yeah, screw them. Like, no, I'm not that guy. So, am I oblivious to it? No. Do I understand white privilege? Yes. Do I agree with it? Sometimes I feel like there's a lot of white people that also like had to bite the bullet. So, but I know when it comes to the greater world standards, a lot of people are not fully open to things that we have been exposed to as South Africans. And for a lot of people, just being frank, white is still the dominant color. And it's sad for me, and I pray that one day as a society we'll get to a point where it's like, let's judge people by their character. Let's not judge people by their skin color. Let's not immediately think, oh, it's a black person, I'm gonna hold my push. What if the white guy wrongs you? So, yeah, I hope that makes sense. You know, because it's different. I know it's different.
You said something interesting, like when you had people ask you to be a part of racism. What is that like? Is it people hand out flyers?
Not necessarily like. Because it was still early days of post-apartheid. Like I was in high school in 2004. So there was still some, like the K word was still very popular in our school, even though there were black kids in our school. And it was like, those K words, and I'm just like, no, that's not their names. Call them by their names. No, but why are you being different? Because guys, like they're humans just like you. If you cut them open, they bleed like you. No, they from hell. That's why they're darker than us. They were burnt. I'm like, who told you that? Like, in what household did you grow up where that is the norm? Like where that language is the norm? And I know for white people that watch this, it might still be households that they know or households that they see. And like I said, there's a lot of my family that are still fairly racist, and they know it or not, and they'll always be like, no, we're not racist, it's just those people. And I'm like, no, the fact that you call them those people, no, but Nomi's different. No. Sure. So it's not necessarily handing out a flyer, it's just in speech and how people speak, they automatically think you are in agreement with them because you're white.
Yeah.
You are in agreement with everything they say because you're white. Is there a lot of things that white Afrikaans people do that is problematic? Yes. But there's also a lot of things for me that white people do that's great.
Yeah.
controversial statement. But I'm saying now, Oranje is not necessarily a bad thing for me. Reason being, there's a lot of tribal groups all over South Africa, in KZN, in Eastern Cape, where Zulu people live, where Xhosa people live. And no one is batting an eye about that. Now there's a white community in the Northern Cape, not bothering anyone, not spreading racism, not saying if you you're evil or we're going to kill black people. Dude, the only thing they're saying is you need to speak Afrikaans, you need to believe in Jesus. You can join our community if you can do those two things, even if you're black. They may have said that. They want to preserve Afrikaans.
I don't know that part.
But that's what I'm saying. Like black people, there's a black guy that went there and he was shocked because he went for E-News. It was an E-News jet or EWN News. And he was shocked because in his mind everyone at work was like, you need to be careful, they're going to want to kill you. And he got there and he got the greatest welcome that he has gotten from a lot of spaces.
Yeah.
And when he spoke to the mayor or president or whatever it's called of that town, he was like, dude, people want to say that we are spreading racism, we hate black people. We've, maybe in the past, our previous presidents, our previous mayors, yes, but for us, dude, we just want to preserve Afrikaans. Afrikaans is a dying language and we just want to preserve it. That's all we're asking. They even started, like Nomi and I watched the video, we accidentally got onto it where a guy went to Oranje to expose it.
Yeah.
And he couldn't. And in the video, he even found out they have their own currency, which is equal to the rand. But what happens is you go to Oranje, you give them your rands, and they give you this currency.
Yeah.
What they do with that money, they put it in community development to make Oranje better. They don't take the rands and now, hey, we've got your money. They take that money to build Oranje better. And I'm like, the common mindset is that Oranje is evil. But why? Just because they're Afrikaans? Does that mean I'm evil? Does it mean I'm opposed to black people? Does that mean I don't want black people to succeed? As a friend of mine that's Zulu, the common understanding is you would hate me. But we've been friends for like the last 5 years. And I've never once felt threatened by you, and I've never once tried to force my own will upon you because I'm a white Afrikaans man. And I would love if we could live in a society where everybody can just come together. White, black, colored, Afrikaans, English, Zulu, Xhosa, all of us can just be. And I think that's what I like about the idea of churches, because it brings so many different people groups into it. And I've had people look at me before like, why are you in brown? You're white and you're Afrikaans. Dude, I love it here. These are my friends, these are my people. And yeah, racism is a very big part in Afrikaans culture, but I also think racism is a very big part in a lot of other cultures. And we can't, like a statement I always go, is people going, black people can't be racist. But you can. Some of you are racist to other tribes. No, that's tribal, it's not racist. You don't like a group of people. That sounds like racism to me. But anyway, let me not go on that tangent. But it's just, we need to be better as a society for our kids. Like, I've seen videos of people posting where black and white kids play together at sports events or at like a market. So as kids from 1 to 5, they can all see eye to eye. What changes after that? Where does this void come? And it has to be from family. It has to be from parents. So where does it stop? It stops by us. If we can be accepting of everyone, so can they. Like, I think Jesus is a great example of that, because we always look at Jesus as this guy that's like, no, but he was holier than everything. And he was, but he never acted like that. He ate with sinners. He spoke to people that he was told not to speak to. He moved around and had grace and love for everyone. That should be our example. The Bible says, love others like you love yourself. In some translations it says, love thy neighbor as thou love thyself. Your neighbor is not necessarily white or black. So what if you live in an all-white community, but now Togo and his wife moves in? Are you not going to love him because he's not your neighbor? No, he is. And I think sometimes we forget that. We think our neighbor is this. But our neighbor is anyone that comes in contact with you. God asks you to love them. Where do we miss that?
There's such a gap. Like, and what you're saying, just to touch on what you mentioned, like you find black people who are racist, or you want to call it tribalist or whatever, to other black people. And I guess going to my experience growing up was, I come from a household where information was very available. I know, like in some households, they protect children and they don't expose them to certain things, they don't tell them certain information, and then maybe kids find out at school from their friends, whatever. And by my house, it was kind of like, there was no PG. It was just like,
I feel like it's a better thing to do. I feel like it's better to raise a kid like that, because the sooner you're exposed to all of this, the easier it is for you to get used to it.
Yeah. So, like for me, they made it very clear, like, this is what South Africa is like, this is what the landscape is. So they made me very aware from a very young age, like, hey, don't just to prepare yourself. You might come across a person who will treat you a certain way, who will call you a name, who might do this to you. This is why, and they give me the history, that this is where we come from. And I grew up with my grandmother, and she has first-hand experience of this.
Yeah.
You know, I have a late uncle who was part of the struggle and was one of, the group of men who went to exile, who were part of Mkhonto with back then when it was a military arm. So it's a very close, it's a very sensitive matter, particularly to my grandmother. She lost some of her sons because of the apartheid regime. So they made me very aware that this is our history as a family, and this is where South Africa is coming from. So I was exposed in terms of being told, given the knowledge and the background, and this is what has been the history of our country, and this is what you might encounter when you go out into the world. But then with that as well, there were those values of, this is how you should be.
Yeah.
It was this thing of, listen, it is not a matter of everyone is bad, all white people are bad. Like love, and my grandmother was a great example of that. Like that woman had a love unlike any other, any kind of person. And so what then was my experience, which was very surprising for me at the time, because now I'm growing up with this mindset of, okay, there's been a time when there was segregation, different colors couldn't interact, and there was the white people saw themselves superior than every other race. Okay. And then I go out into the world, and then my first-hand experience was the black on black hate. So whatever you want to call it, we call it racism, we call it tribalism, I don't know whatever term you want to call it, but I'll just use this term, black on black hatred.
Yeah.
Where there's a level of classism, where certain black people see themselves better as a certain class of black people. There was this competition where I'm going to do whatever it takes. I will step on you, whatever it takes for me to get ahead, or for me and my family to get ahead. There was just this, we just were not getting along, and we were our own enemy. Right? And for me at that time, my context was KZN. Like for 18 years of my life, I knew nothing else but KZN. Yeah. And this was the prevailing thing, where the violence I'm seeing, deaths, whatever's happening, it's with each other. The corruption it's against each other.
Yeah.
To the point where you would see your fellow black brother or sister being nice and being very, hospitable to a white person, but then turning and being very hostile and just, not great to a fellow black person. And I'm like, why are we doing this? My one vivid memory was, I was with my mom, we were doing grocery shopping, and we were at Food Lovers. It was still called Fruits and Veg City. But we were back in the day. So in Fruits and Veg City, we're in the queue to the till. In front of us is a white lady. She gets to the till. The cashier, black female, she greets her, hi, how are you? Brings her items, do you want plastic? Finishes everything, lady pays, have a nice day, bye. A smile, just proper customer service. Our turn is next, and it is just crickets.
It's weird.
Plastic,
And I'm like, even black racism towards white people. is also a very real thing. And I know it was oppression, and I know they were racist first, but it's not a card. Like, oh, they were racist first, now we can be racist. And when it comes to black on black specifically, it's like, when do you become the oppressor? When do you become the person that you fought for 30 years to get out of the system? Now you became that. And that's why I'm like, it's a character thing, because if it doesn't get dealt with, power corrupts. And if you don't know how to handle that, I mean, like the transition from Thabo Mbeki to Jacob Zuma had a lot of people worried, because it's a Xhosa guy leaving and a Zulu guy is stepping in. Oh, now from Jacob to Cyril, same thing. The Zulu guy stepping out. What's going to happen to us as Zulus? Now it's a Venda guy stepping in. And for me, I'm like, guys, you should trust them enough as a president to have the whole country's best needs. Do they always have it? Maybe, maybe not. I have my own views on it, but I can't call my views absolute facts. I can't be like, no, Zuma was better because of this, Cyril was better because of this. That's my views. But we need to trust that they ultimately know what they're doing. And we need to be able, we call ourselves the Rainbow Nation, but we like color picking out of the rainbow. Like, no, I like this, I don't like this, da-da-da. When is it going to stop? When are we actually just going to be like, cool? And I think for me as well, growing up, especially university onwards, it was very tough, because it might sound bad, I'm sorry if it does, but I associated with black people a lot more than white people. There's a lot more things I could agree with black people than I could with white people. Does that mean I don't agree with white people at all? No, there's a lot of things I do agree with, but there's a lot of things I don't. The same with black people. There's a lot of things I agree with and a lot of things I don't. But I always had the mixed batch of friends. And if you look at the birthday we went to on Monday, I was the only white guy there. And I always make a joke with Nomi about I'm going to make a book, Spot the White Guy. 90% of the time he won't. But there was just stuff that I could relate more with. And that's just been my life. I get along with most groups of people, and often when the Black Lives Matter thing happened, oh guys, so many white people messaged me and was like, what should we change? How should we do better? I was like, ask them, don't ask me. No, but you know them. The fact that you go, you know them, is a problem, because you already associated a people group as a them, instead of, yeah, maybe we should just talk to Ntobo. Maybe we should just talk to Nomi. Maybe we should just talk to someone and find out, where did we go wrong? Where did we lack a perspective? Because I can tell you my opinion on how I've worked with them, but that, again, it's not factual. I'm still a white guy. I'm still a white Afrikaans guy with a white Afrikaans background. Yes, but you get along with them. That doesn't mean anything. It just means I know how to be friends with people without looking at their skin color. And I've had fights, like, some of my best friends are like Odi, Love, Nebo, and the fights that I've had with them, because we come from different backgrounds and we see things differently, then I sometimes go, yo, am I racist? Because I really got mad at Odi now. And then it's like, no, we're both trying to seek understanding of how we've grown up. And that's what makes us better. And I think the biggest thing I would say to anyone when it comes to the new South Africa and coloring outside of the lines and coming together is learn to fight well. Have those arguments because you're seeking understanding, but don't have those arguments to prove yourself right and why you are the right person and why they are not, or why this and why that. Seek understanding. Our government is a great example of a mixed South Africa. The GNU is a great example. Is there a lot of things that are done right? Yes, I think Gayton McKenzie is the best sports minister we've ever had. Again, opinion, but he's doing so much for arts and sports, and now he's even doing the bursaries for kids whose parents died in service. Has our country gone a bit better? Yes, load shedding kind of ended. We're doing maintenance on a lot of things. So was that all the ANC's fault? No. But what happens is if one thing controls everything, they will focus on what they want. But if we become together as people, we can see the bigger picture. It's okay to ask for help, and I think that's what the GNU did. That's what the Springboks are doing. This has been the most diverse Springboks team in history of rugby. Like, There's no, okay, there's 11 white people and 4 black people. We made the quota, like we're good. We're actually choosing people on their skill.
Merits.
And we're showing people of different color that you can achieve this.
Yeah.
And look what happened. Back-to-back World Cups, only lost 2 games this year. And all of that is growing together. Who's the 2 best friends on the team? Eben and Sia, a Xhosa gent and an Afrikaans gent. The Afrikaans gent that currently lives in KZN and is loved by Zulus because of who he is. But what happened? We just came together and we worked together. And I think that should be the main message, period.
Yeah.
Learn to come together. People have been preaching this, people have been saying it, but pride always gets in the way.
Yeah.
And if we can't handle that,
and that's very interesting.
So one what's better for each other. Sorry, just one last thing. One what's better for each other. When me and Monique got married, the thing we both saw from the get-go is the difference between how we've grown up in our families. My parents has always been do what you want to do, follow your dreams, chase your dreams, da 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 da. Her parents and quote black parents are very, no, you need to go study something serious. You need to
as with most black councils.
Yes, you need to da 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 da. You need to da 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 da. Then you succeed, then black people are mad at you for succeeding more than they are. Where white people is like, hey, you're succeeding, we're all succeeding. And I think we can learn from each other. Like I'm not saying all black people are like this, but you can learn from your fellow white friends how to celebrate your people. And white people can learn from black people how to take careers more seriously and how to work in society better. There's a lot we can learn from each other if we were just willing to sit down together. But if we're going to keep going, I'm not talking to Afrikaans. Like, automatically excluding someone because Afrikaans, and I've always found that tough. I didn't ask to be born Afrikaans. I was born Afrikaans. That doesn't mean I co-sign apartheid. That doesn't mean I believe everything white people believe. That doesn't mean I want black people to be oppressed. But the mindset automatically because I'm Afrikaans is that's what you want. No. I was born into this. You were born into a Zulu family. It doesn't mean you co-sign with everything that Zulus do. But that's the general statement we make. No, he's Zulu, he has to be violent, he has to do it, he has to. Dude, there's so many Zulus that are super chilled. Not every Zulu is violent, but yet in white people, Zulus are so violent. And I'm like, okay, sure.
I'm like, sure. I think I remember moving to, just to share that, I remember moving to Johannesburg and seeing for the first time how Zulus are viewed. Because I didn't know this really, because I was in
it's different.
That's the dominant culture and race in KZN, so you don't really,
very few
if it's just 2 guys, you don't see each other that way, right? So I coming out of that space, coming to Johannesburg to study, and then I'm hearing this. And I'm seeing like, oh, Zulu man, this is. And I remember I even used it as a strength of mine because those who really know me or close to me, I'm not the bravest person. I'm actually letting down Zulu people.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
In terms of the stereotype of Zulu man, I'm letting them down. I'm bringing down the average because, for example, I say with no shame, I cannot handle spiders. I'm not a fan of bugs either. But particularly spiders, I don't care. I don't care how tiny it is. Whatever the case is, my wife gets it. I can't handle that.
That's the problem for me. When we got married, I told Mimi, babe, I will do anything in this house, but spiders and I are not friends.
Do you see? That's
so if there's a spider that shows up to kill me, yeah, baby, we'll do it for you. I swear she did that just so I can get married to her. Because since we've been married, any bug, including a spider, she runs away and it's my problem. So the other day at our house, there was, I'm not kidding, the spider was almost as big as my hands, behind the towel. Behind the towel. So I washed my hands, immediately freaked out, called Mimi. She brought the doom, she was like, she will look, I can spray, she will look, because she knows if I'm going to see it, I'm going to faint. She says, no, still behind the towel, you can spray. I spray. After I sprayed, I'm like, baby, look if it's still there. She's like, pop, it's gone, runs away. Now I'm like, gone where? She's like, find it. Closes the door. Leaves me there. The guy scared of spiders. Leaves me there.
Okay, we wouldn't get along.
It was climbing the roof. I just kept spraying. Eventually it fell and I stepped on it and I kept stepping, hoping that it does. But I was like, not you leaving me.
No, you're brave.
Not
I would have
you
left the
leaving
house.
me.
No, you're brave. Like, I kid you not. Our mutual friend Smiley, he remembers this. He laughed. He had a great laugh. We were helping him. He was moving some furniture. He was collecting some furniture that he was buying from someone. We collect it, we load it onto the van. And you know, when you feel like something's on you, you just because I'm busy, I'm loading stuff, and I push. And then I glance, and it is just like that is a nightmare. I've never encountered that. This was probably that big, right? But it was literally on my shirt. You have no idea how I screamed and how I jumped.
That spider climbed on me, passed out.
And I've seen Zinke, like, Mama, she'll look at me. There's a time I could see the disappointment in her eyes because at this time she was heavily pregnant and she's having to like deal with the spider. And I'm just like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like, be mad at me, think of me as of a man. I'm not doing it. You know, and again, like to that point of like, I'm not the typical Zulu man as it's been portrayed or stereotyped. But seeing how Zulus were just viewed in general when I came to Johannesburg, I ended up using it to my strength. Because now, like, even if I'm in a space where I feel a bit afraid or intimidated, I'll just speak Zulu so I can feel so people can just respect me and fear me a bit. Meanwhile, inside, I might be terrified inside.
I'm going to speak Zulu.
But I'm just going to speak the Zulu, you know? So then they'll see that this is Zulu and then they'll just kind of respect me. So I ended up using it to my advantage in that sense, you know? But I guess I bring it back up as I want to, like, the main idea in terms of us as being gents, because for me what has become apparent, at least now just in this season of my life as well and just growing, is and it's not to say maybe women are any less, please no, that is not what I'm saying, but with the role of being a man, and just the calling, particularly now looking at it in the lens of faith. So much rests on us as men, and
I don't think you feel it until you get married. With the leader of the house, but until you get married,
you start seeing some of these things, right? So I'm starting to realize that now, even becoming a parent, starting to realize so many things. Also, I am if something's gonna end, I need to lead by that example. So if it's gonna look different for my household, for the descendants after me, my children, great-grandchildren, great-grandchildren, I need to actually take that step, right? Be it addiction, be it whatever the case is, I need to take that step because it was a realization for me, like now having my son was, wait, whatever I'm struggling with, if I can't necessarily rise above it and end this, unfortunately it might end up being something that he struggles with when he grows up, right? So now within this space, race, because we've spoken of so many things where, you know, there's this idea of because we associate, because of the same skin color or the same tribe, we should believe the same things, we should do the same things, we should act in the same way. Because I'm Zulu, I should have multiple wives, whatever the case is. But then you realize, no, I'm not subscribing to all of this. Yes, I identify with these people, but it doesn't mean I agree with everything, right? So then how I'm realizing that there's the pressure rests a lot on us as men as well to say, okay, if we want to change the narrative, then I don't need to expect so many people. I need to stop that. I don't need to be expecting and saying, you need to change, let me be the image of
you need to be the first step, because you can change your community. Like, I had this thing since 2018, and only recently I saw the fruit of it. Like, it's changing the world one ripple at a time. And what my mindset was by that is, I can't help everyone. I can't teach everyone. I can't make a change in everyone's life. Like, I like to invest into people. And I was like, but working in church before I resigned now was, how do I invest into a team of 30 people as one person? Like, it just doesn't feel real. Then, okay, but I want you to look after creative overall. Now it's a team of 120 people. I can't get to 120 people. So the focus became, if I can empower my 5 second in charges. So like if we take the Josie example, Tembi, who oversees our worship team, Zakisa Navuzani, who oversees our band, myself and Zeus that looks after tech, Nomi and Hamotsu that looks after creative design, and Warwick and Matsu that looks after comms. And then Daniela that's youth. If I can empower these people and leave them to empower the rest, that can change how this team is being led, and it works. And I think if we can do the same in society, because the reason why I'm saying I only saw the fruits of it this year, I was on a job doing lights for an India function, and the sound guy on the job came to me and was like, I wouldn't have been in this place if it wasn't for you. And I'm like, but I don't know you like that. I've met you like a month or two ago. What do you mean? I met you in this industry. He's like, no, my brother was this guy, and he was an intern in church, and you coached him, and he coached me. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be where I am. And I think if we take that the same in society, what in your community can you change? What in your friend group can you change? Because in that, it can change people. Like if we take the example of me coming to Joburg, a lot of people were like, they don't talk Afrikaans in Joburg. You're going to have to get better at your English. And I was like, yo, I do. Moved to Fourways with my wife. Went to Fourways Mall, and the first thing I heard was, Liefie, kyk, guys special. And I was like, babe, there's Afrikaans. There's Afrikaans people here. But also knowing that I'm mostly going to be in Braam, how do I associate with the community? Because everybody that was in Braam knew me from Wonderboom, but there was this fear of like, oh guys, Bones is no, just like, I respect him, talk nice to him. I came here, I was super chilled. I was open to everyone, and I'm like, the relationships I built with people, like a friend of ours, Ona, admitted that she was scared of me. And now we are friends, and she's like, I can make jokes with you, I can talk to you a little bit. And it was all just being open enough to change my community. Being open enough to go like, in Wonderboom they needed me to be a STEM guy because there was a lot of kids. Here there's a lot of students. The mindset has to change. I do want to invest into students. And how I became friends with all these people. Like, me and Timby, your sister-in-law, never spoke until me and Nomi got married. Like, they would be like, hi, bye, that's it. And we became friends through Nomi. Same with Hamotso, same with all these people. And then hearing their recollections of like, we were actually scared of you. I'm like, I don't know why, but sure, thank you. And seeing the friendships I have now, even with our other friend Lebo, like, just that friendship of me being open enough to go like, Lebo, I feel like it would be great to do this. Changed the whole relationship. And it all comes from, you need to be bigger than yourself. I can change for my household, I can change for me and Nomi, but that's not going to change society. As the man of the house, but also a leader in the community, I need to lead by example over every single turn I go, and it's difficult. Because there might be sometimes when you have issues with people, because you've heard something, or you are addicted to something. Like, I've spoken to a few people about this, I don't mind having it online. I was addicted to porn while being a staff member in church, but I never once went to anyone and be like, you know what, I'm struggling with this. I kept it to myself, because, what are they going to think? They will think I'm a sinner. And the one day I went to Odie and Love, and I was like, Jets, I struggle with this. I need your help. I don't know if I can tell anyone else, but I can tell you guys. And in that, healing came, and change came, and only in that I could marry Nomi. Because my attraction to her wasn't just sexual. It wasn't just like, yo, my wife's hot. It was, I care about the human. But if I never spoke to those people, I would not have changed. And I think we need to get above ourselves and go like, I need to give this up for the greater good of the community. I might not, as an example, I might not like Smiley, and I can't serve under his leadership. But for the greater community, I need to learn to. Not that that's the case. I love you, Smiley. If you watch this, think you're a phenomenal leader. But the point is just, sometimes we need to leave our own feelings at the door for the greater good of the community. And I think that's the same for South Africa. If we are leaders in the community, we can't have those chats of, yo, I'll never marry a Zulu man, or yo, Zulus are dangerous, or yo, Afrikaans people are automatically racist. It stops with us. We might have heard that, we might have seen all that. Like, I was shocked when I found out the majority of Afrikaans people live in PE. I was like, Wabega is the most Afrikaans place in South Africa. You're lying. Not Pretoria. Pretoria is 6th.
Wow, I don't know that.
Yeah, I was like, what? So, and with that being said, is in changing your community and culture, you also need to be aware of what community and culture things you've learned.
Yeah.
Because if I can take it back to my life, and I think that's something we all, watching this, you and me, we all need to think about. I almost didn't marry Naomi, or not even dated her. Because in my mind I was like, what would my community say? What would the white people in my life say? What would my parents say? Even though my parents always said, we want you to love whoever you love, no matter what their skin color is. I was willing to give up someone that I've gotten close to and not marry them because I was so scared of my community, my tribe.
And what you're saying is interesting. I remember I've had friends and I've seen like just in their families, like maybe the household is not necessarily to say they are racist. They probably also speak of like, oh, we love everyone and they friendly with everyone and all that kind of stuff. But I've seen examples where it then changes when it hits home. Now my son brings this person.
Now things are
now you start seeing that you guys are dating.
I love Odie, and yes, they're your friends.
Yeah, but now so you start seeing that as well. And I remember, and it's the same. This side, what you're saying resonates so well. I remember telling my wife, I'm like, I've never dated outside of my race, and one of the main reasons was my family thing. That was literally the main reason.
I had to sit my parents down and go like, I like this girl. Already my mom was a no. Like, I'm a mama's boy, so it wasn't even color. Just the fact I'm dating someone.
Yeah. No, it's good enough. No.
Dude, I'm 29 years old. What do you mean I'm not supposed to date? so I love my mom. She passed away. I miss her dearly. But she was just like, no, we need to get to know her. And I was like, just relax. She's black. And my parents was like, okay, you still need to get to know her before you can tell her you like this girl.
Yeah.
There wasn't even oh, she's black.
Yeah.
And I'm like, in my mind, I was so obsessed with like what we went to my friend groups, went to Jono, Odie, Loaf and Ian, because they were my closest friends at the time. I was like, guys, I like Nomi. And Jono was like, oh yeah, she's awesome. Odie was like, oh, it's about time. I've been waiting for you to see it. And I just felt free. I felt like, okay, cool. But I'm like, you get so psyched up by what society thinks. Oh, what are people going to think about a mixed race family? Even when we moved to Joburg, a big reason for it is a lot of people in Pretoria was not okay with it. Has it changed now? Maybe, but back then we saw how people were looking at us, and we were like, this is probably not the safest place for us. Moved to Joburg, also probably because now it's changed. In Pretoria it was white people. In Joburg it was black people.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, oh, it's safe now. Black people were like, well, why is she with you?
I remember when you told me when you guys went to Durban for the first time.
Yeah, so everybody in Durban thinks I speak Zulu because my wife's black. My wife's not even Zulu, but sure. Yeah. But now we live in Fourways, and Fourways is probably the most diverse community I know. Yeah. Like, majority of our neighbors are mixed race. And there is a space for everyone in this world. And I think, I'm not saying, hey, I highly advise mixed race marriage. I do, but that's not the message here. Yeah. But if you love someone, don't be psyched out because you're so scared what society is going to think. It's okay. You love them. People will warm up to it. Because there were people that were like, now they're fine. Like, my grandmother, I love her to bits, but it was weird for her at first. Yeah. Now she's like, "Goeie Nomi, is Nomi okay? Sê vir ons my song." And I'm like, okay, Oma, that's how I say. But people will warm up to it. But like I said, I come from I would say 60% of my family is quite racist. People came to my dad's birthday. They saw me with my wife. My dad's first word was like, she's black. That's a problem for any of you, please leave. You are not welcome in my house. This is a problem for you. And everybody just got on the program. Everybody, and I think in that, as well as I'm speaking about the ripple, it changed how they see black people. Like, I'm not saying, oh, Nomi is different than them. They're not, like, they've actually started making, like, one of my cousins told me the other day, he's like, I'm actually friends with a few black people now, like, after meeting Nomi. And it's just understanding that we're not that different. Society, politics, media will push the difference because it feeds into some situations. But if we all realize that we're not that different, we can change to it.
Man, you mentioned something very interesting, like how it's not like I remember I was having this conversation with my wife and saying I appreciate and I understand. Maybe appreciate the word. I understand and empathize with the older generation, who, whether black or white, and you find they are still racist. The black person still feels like the white person is the enemy. The reason why I'm saying this is I empathize because I will never understand to the extent what they've been through. Maybe for them, their husbands were killed. Or their children were taken to prison. Houses were burned down. You know, like, it's very real. Like, I know first-hand experiences that my mom has shared, you know, with her. She grew up in that time of the Soweto uprising, June 16 that we celebrate. She was a scholar in that time. You know, yes, she wasn't in Soweto, she was in KZN, but it was a national thing. So my grandmother, very much in that space, so I know the realness that they've shared, and even in them sharing that I can't put myself there, I can't understand it to the extent.
And that's a blessing and a curse.
Yes.
It's their lives. You can't be mad like, hey, my grandfather sees black people like this. For 40 years of his life, this was
his reality.
Now, the last 30 years, it wasn't. I can't expect them to just switch. 100%. And the same with my dad. He went, like he was telling me maybe the other day the story, he had to go to war for something he didn't believe in. Like apartheid forced him to go to war and take out the black people in Namibia because Namibia needs to be preserved for apartheid. He didn't agree with it. But it was either you do that or we send you to prison. Like that's your two choices. Either you go to prison or you go to war. He's like, he never killed someone, thankfully, but he's seen other people shoot people. He's seen black people just dead in the street. And he's like, why are we here? We have no business doing this. But for someone else's mind, your dad was in the war. He hated black people. No.
Yeah, and so for me, the thing is, understanding that and having that perspective, there's a grace that I extend and that empathy of. Unfortunately, for some of the older generation, it's probably too late to try and change their mind and help them to see and accept the new South Africa, right? And so I have that kind of empathy and understanding to the older generation where, you know, I see that woman is still racist. I see that, you know, my grandma or whoever that black person is like, hey, no white person will ever like you, whatever. It's unfortunate to think like that, you know, and I pray, I hope something will change, but I like that. I see that. But now for me, my thing is, we are now in this generation, our generation, in as much as there's been a lot of propaganda, a lot of teachings from family as well, stereotypes that have been passed down as well. I'm not being oblivious to the fact that there's a work that needs to take place in terms of unlearning certain things. Changing a certain view, like it goes in so many directions. It's like, no, white men will never be on your side, and so never trust a white man. Oh, that tribe is better. Oh, that tribe like this. All these different things we've been touching on. Like I remember, I was listening to there was an interview I was seeing, and this guy in America, he was being asked by a black man. They're around the same age, both of them, and he's being asked, does he believe in reparations? And this guy was like, no, I don't. And he explains, and it's like, reparations is the idea that because the black person had suffered, this person had suffered because of slavery and whatever, a descendant of theirs is then given land, or whatever the case is, as compensation for that. Okay, who is the person compensating? Okay, the person who's compensating, did they own a slave?
No.
Did they actually do that? Oh, it's probably their third great-grandfather, like 3 generations down. Is it fair for that person? They are carrying the sins of that person. Okay,
and also it's biblical.
Liberated.
But it's also biblical though. So I think probably where it says, your sins will be on your children, which sucks.
Yeah.
I agree with him. Why must I suffer?
Yeah, so there's that, like I understood it. It's that two-way thing where it's like, I don't think it's correct, absolute, right? Because that's what the black person said, okay, the person who's being liberated, were they a slave? Did they suffer? No, it was 3 generations
they living in
that suffered. Then why are they now benefiting? So, and you raise that question, I was like, I'm not to say I'm 100% agreeing with what he's saying, but I'm like, no, man, there's truth in what he's saying here. And it's like, we need to look at this, like, actually, where's that line? Where's the point of like, okay, if we say white people need to pay, until when?
60 years from now? Like, when is it even?
When is it even?
How long was apartheid?
Yeah.
So when was it even?
So I have those questions as well, and it's not to be insensitive, because I understand as well the extent. I always say apartheid was successful. It was successful in what it wanted to do. And the damage, we still
the damage will be here for generations to come in my mind if we don't start changing. So that's why I agree with your statement. And like 100% agree with it in the sense of, I hear what you're saying, Grandma. I understand why you're saying it, but that doesn't have to be my life. And I think that's why a lot of us miss it. Our parents or our grandparents will tell us their story or their pain or their hurt or why they feel justified that black people should have been oppressed or why they feel justified that all white people are wrong. Listen to them, acknowledge their pain, but move on. A lot of us take that onto ourselves. Now racism just keeps moving the whole time because now I'm angry at black people. Now Julius says something on the TV of we're gonna give farms to black people. Now as a white person I'm mad. Understand Julius has power as a politician, but he doesn't have all that power. The GNU is the only one that can make that call of who gets what. And like just breathe. Like guys, it's not that simple. There's laws in place for certain things, but then we get fired up. No, black people. Then the loots happen in Durban. Yeah, you see Zulus. Like look at what Zulus are doing. You know Zulus are the biggest group in South Africa. Do you think all of them were there? Do you think all of them agreed with what was happening there? Because I saw Zulus after the looting helping rebuild communities too. Yeah, but what? Yeah. And I think that's where we need to shift our mind. Feel the pain of the previous generation. Understand that pain. Yeah. But what are you doing so that your kids don't have to feel that? What are you doing so that your community doesn't feel that? A black guy moved into my dad's community. My dad was like, oh wait, we need to invite him over for a braai. He invited him over for a braai. Everyone else in the community was like, why would you do that? He's here to bring the prices of the houses down. No. And I was just like,
they said you're affecting the value.
And I was just like, we are still there. We still believe like this. His house is the prettiest house now because he rebuilt his house. He broke it down, rebuilt it, made it beautiful. Now his house looks like it belongs in Sandton, and the rest of you look like Pretoria North houses. Who actually is bringing the value down? And not in a bad way, but guys, we can't keep thinking like that. We can't. The world is changing, and we need to either change with, or we're going to get left behind again, and segregation is going to become a thing again. It might be reversed this time, it might be whatever you want to call it, but we need to start working together. People, even in companies being hired, I understand the whole idea of BE, and I'm not against it, but also hire people because they're the right person for the job. You can't, because now you're going to hire all these people because BE says so. Then you're going to keep complaining your company is failing.
And then
so it's a black person's fault.
You're not doing us a favor as well. I can remember starting off, imposter syndrome is very prevalent in the black community because now you have these thoughts like it's anxiety and it's just I guess insecurity of like, am I just a quota? Do I actually belong to?
Am I just be because they have to?
Was it a BE thing or am I a BE higher? Or am I actually competent for this job?
That's not fit towards you.
It's not fit exactly.
I saw it in rugby where there was a guy that played, I can't even remember his name, but one of the announcers, I can't even remember who, but he said off script that this guy's here as a quota player. And it hurt that guy so much that he retired from the Springboks. He stopped playing for the Springboks because nobody wants to hear the year as a token or the year as a quota. Like, I don't think any black person walks around going, I'll be your quota. Hire me as your token. I'm fine with that. You want to be acknowledged for your skill as well. You also went to go study. You also studied accounting, and you deserve equal opportunity. And I think that's where things also need to change, because I think a lot of us, myself included, the first time I heard of BE, I was like, yo, I'm never going to get a job in this country. Yo, I need to move to another country to get a job. No, that was not the case. I was good enough for what I was doing. And my skill is good enough for me to not work for someone else, if that would ever be the option. But there are people that don't get those opportunities. So I get the outworking of BE, but I also get how companies mess it up, that they miss the opportunity because we're just meeting people through the door. Then you are mad at the person, and I'm told the worst employee you ever had, but did you actually set them up for a win? Did you actually set them up to succeed? That's what we need to look at.
So I think probably just making this the last question, what is then something now for you, like at this stage in your life, you say you're unlearning and another thing and stuff that you have to learn when it comes to just this whole, racial tensions, just in South Africa that we're still building, and reconciling with our past and what our previous ancestors have done. What is something that you feel like, okay, I'm learning this, like, yeah, it's a struggle because I was taught like this, because it was passed down to me, because it was part of the community I was in, and now I'm having to kind of learn this, be like, no, this is actually not, I don't want to continue this in my life, and I want something else to learn, to be like, this is something I think is good.
So one thing I had to be faced with and I had to learn is understanding my privilege. Not just privilege as a white person. Yes, in some rooms I'll always get picked before Mtoko, but also understanding the privilege of my voice as a white person. Because believe it or not, if white people say certain things about black people and you just go, because you just want the conversation to end, you're technically co-signing. You're technically saying you agree with it, even if you don't, because you're not actually speaking up. There's a lot of black people in organizations that are struggling, and there are white people, myself included, that aren't speaking up to this struggle. We act like it's fine, like
you're not saying you're for this.
Yeah, I'm not for
but
this.
Because you're neutral.
But I'm just trying to be neutral because I also don't want to lose my job and they will come right, that's fine. No, speak for them. Not on their behalf. Please listen carefully. As a white person, never speak on a black person's behalf. You are not black. But learn to work and fight for them with them. Go find out what Mtobo actually needs. Don't assume as a black person, Mtobo needs this. No, that's again privilege. You think you know better. Find out what he needs. So that's something I learned. And thank you, Oni, for that. Because for a long I was like, no, I'm fine. I'm not racist. But there's a lot of systemic things in me that comes across as racist because I do not speak up. What I needed to unlearn is saying sorry. Again, I will thank Nebs for this. As white people, we like saying sorry for things we didn't do. And I'm not saying, I'm sorry for apartheid. I'm very much sorry for apartheid, but it's not my fault. I can't carry that burden. I am not a racist. I have never looked at black people that way. It shouldn't be on me to carry the weight of all those people. Do I agree with all those people? Yeah, no. But, so that's something I need to unlearn. And stop thinking I know more about South Africa, about politics, about everything from my lens. There's certain values as a white person that you appreciate more, and there's certain values as a black person you appreciate more. So, by default, and I'm not saying they're bad, I'm not saying they shouldn't vote for them, or vote for them, or whatever, but by default, I can relate to the DA. I can relate to what the DA is saying because of how I grew up. Does that mean the DA is correct? No. Does that mean there's some stuff in DA that does make sense? Yes. But there's also things in the ANC, there's also things in the MK, there's also things in EFF that make sense. I can't disqualify all of that just because I'm white. And I think that is something I had to unlearn, is don't just go for things that benefit you. Think about what benefits everyone in South Africa. Actually think about who you're voting for. For me, I loved how the last election panned out. I loved that there was no superior winner. so that we can all come together and decide together what our country needs. A lot of people have mixed feelings about the GNU, and I like it. I love the GNU. I'm not saying what they're doing is correct. I'm not saying everything they have done is perfect. But I love the idea of a united South Africa leading together. And I believe it can work. So I would say that would be my main things. There's more, but I think the main things are just seek more understanding. Don't think you're always right. Oh, aggression. I get angry a lot. It is a white person thing. I do know it. I'm dealing with it. Because the same of what you said to your kids. I don't want this aggression to come onto my kids. Like if, let's say, like you see, that if I have a child that young and they start crying for no reason, I don't want to be frustrated at my child crying. I want to nurture them, be there for them as a father. So I'm learning now already. Like there's a lot of things that happen on a Sunday that trips me out. But I just have to be like, it's okay. The team is learning. They'll get there. And I think this transition of leaving staff has helped a lot with that, because I now need to let them fail so that they can grow. So
and I think
for you, it's a good way for you.
I will touch on that. Like I think it's a common thread I'm taking out of this whole chat we've been having is, if anything's going to change and we want to see a better South Africa, we're going to be better as people, and even be able to integrate better as we need to actually embrace discomfort. Because
it is going to be uncomfortable. It's not going to be perfect from the beginning.
If we don't want to be in any kind of discomfort, then we're gonna stick with our people. We're gonna co-sign certain things, even if we know very well that this is something I'm not for and I don't subscribe
and
to.
Also listen to people from different ages. Like there's a fairly big age gap between you and me. But I can't just go, I'm older, listen to me. Like young people have a lot to bring, old people have a lot to bring. Listen to people. Grow with people and get uncomfortable. Like if Boat said something that offended you, go ask him, listen, did you say this? Oh, sorry, from my cultural background, this is why, but also the unusual cultural background is a crutch. Like it's a very fine line. It's but learn to get uncomfortable, because that's the only way we can grow.
Look, to answer you on my side, I think the one thing I'm having to unlearn is Zulu people don't want the most superior culture, because that has been like what has been just being passed on, like growing up, and like I saw this coming out of KZN and coming to live in Johannesburg, which was KZN lives in the bubble, and they kind of oblivious that there's anything else beyond the KZN.
I think that's every province.
Probably. So
I think Joburg is special in it because everyone rushes.
Exactly. I think because it's so diverse, like I got there and had to burst that to be like, no. Because like I remember I mentioned this in previous episodes where I was having a conversation with a female black person, and they were like, I don't understand what you're saying, because I spoke automatically in Zulu, because there's this idea, like how you were saying earlier, everyone there speaks Zulu. It was crazy, the fact that you married to a black woman is like, okay, he knows to speak Zulu. And that's the thing, in case there's that thing of like, if you're black, you'll automatically feel like you should know Zulu. There's almost this unspoken rule and expectation that every black person, at the very least, they know Zulu. Even a foreign national.
Then you come here and it's vernacular. Right.
You know, so I had to unlearn that mindset that I'm the superior culture. And my language matters more than Venda, Sotho, Xhosa, Tswana, you know. Like, no, that shouldn't be the case. So I had to unlearn that. I'm learning to not view people or approach certain groups by whatever the label has been. And it's very difficult when you've been told or you've heard these stereotypes and these, whatever it is. And now you come into contact firsthand with these different people, or whatever the case is. It's very hard to not engage with them.
So it was
from that
meeting when I moved to Joburg, it was like people with dreads, bro. Then most of my friends have dreads, and I'm like, oh, people with dreads aren't necessarily dangerous. But that was the mindset. It was like, oh, people with dreads.
So I'm having to learn that, like, no, like, I have to learn how to approach this from a neutral standpoint and take away whatever the stereotype is, that whatever I've been told or learned through media or whatever the case is, that, oh, they're like this. Because, for example, something that has just opened my eyes, I remember saying to my wife, I'm like, you know someone I'd really like to have dinner with? I'd like to sit down with Vladimir Putin. I know he's probably one of the most hated people currently in the world, but I wanna hear from him what is it, because everyone has a motive and everyone believes they do the right thing. And so I want to understand, like most recently the war. Why? What is your motivation? The way your style of leadership. Why? I'd also like to have a conversation with Trump. There's a reason he's going into office for a second term now. And media, on the other hand, they've said all of these things. And from outside, you feel like, yo, no, this guy's not good for America. This guy's not good to destroy America with his Make America Great Again.
Things he did, does, and then you're like, but actually, I agree with that.
You get what I'm saying?
I agree with that.
Yeah, so I think that basically just to, again, emphasize my point of, I'm learning to approach people and situations from a neutral standpoint, regardless of what I've already heard going into that. I want to approach it from a neutral standpoint to be like, let me give you the dignity and the platform to frame yourself how you want to frame yourself to me. And I shouldn't already have this format, this mold of you because of my result. So that's something I'm having to learn, and it's quite difficult to learn that. Yeah.
It is, dude. And it's a journey because I think you're 25 now?
Yeah, 26.
26? Yeah. For 19 years of your life, it was KZN.
Yeah.
Only the last 7 has been Joburg.
Yeah.
So if you think about it like that, it's a lot to work through. I'm 33. 25 years of my life was Pretoria. Sure. And 19 of those was Pretoria North, white, Afrikaans culture. It takes a lot to unlearn. Yeah. And I'm not saying I have to unlearn it. Afrikaans music currently is probably the best music in the world. Shout out to Wolf. But there's a lot of things that I had to unlearn. Like how we see people, how we talk to people, how we approach people. But there's also a lot of good that I've learned. How to be generous, how to be a man that like opens doors for your wife, be there for your wife, love your wife. So there's good and bad we can learn from our cultures. But we need to discern what we need to take with. We need to find perspective overall, and I think you need to chat to other people groups. I need to come to you and be like, what about me do you think can change? Culturally, the way I walk, the way I speak, the way I carry myself, and I need to be open to take that feedback. Because if I can't expect you to change. And I'm not saying if you come now and you're like, no, but you walk upset the whole time. Like, I shouldn't take everything you say seriously, but I need to consider myself. Like, if this is how Togo sees me, how many other people see me as this? Is this actually a problem, or is this just a problem from Togo? You need to go through all of those lists to figure out how to do things better. Coloring outside of the line should become the norm. I'm not necessarily saying in marriage, like, let's mix race everyone, but in friendship groups. Find people that think different than you. A mutual friend of ours that does that well is Emmanuel. Yeah. And look how much he's grown. Look, like this dude, if he's not a billionaire in the next 2 years, I genuinely don't know, but it's because he surrounds himself with people that think differently than he does. Yeah. And that has created opportunity after opportunity after opportunity for him. Be okay to be challenged.
Sure. Perfect. Look, I always leave my, this last question with every guest of mine, and that is, what man is Bones becoming?
A man that is more considerate of others. I've realized I have a lot of insecurities, so a lot of times I'll talk about myself. That we'll get into an environment and it will be me, and I hardly ever ask other people how are they doing. Now, I'm learning how to listen, more people listen before you speak. I'm learning to be considerate because other people also have dreams. Other people also have opportunities. Yes, for you, your dream and your next step and where you're going is the most important. But so is someone else's. So learn to to listen to other people. Because people will come back and people will remember you and people will want you a part of their lives if they see you really care. And I think I, for a very long time, had very superficial friendships because it was just here. It was never about, okay, but how are you? I had friends this year cry while they talked to me, and I was like, I've never had that before. But it's because I'm transforming myself to be a more open person, to understand other people, to hear other people, and not just me. So that's the name that punches me.
Come on, it's amazing. Thank you so much.
Cool, man. It was nice being here.
Conversation.
It's nice being here.